Hey, y'all, listen, happy Saturday, happy Saturday, happy Saturday. Glad y'all stopping through in the building to hang out with me for a moment on this Saturday. Listen, guys, it's trending topics. Yes, it is. And the trending topics is called messy. Now, before I get into this trending topics, my glasses are a little bit dirty. Before I get into this trending topics, I want to say this. Roy and I, we still are recapping the Real Housewives of Potomac. So we're going to recap last week's episode tomorrow, and then maybe Monday we'll recap the new episode. And we still are recapping this Tia show, Tia Mowry. So we are going to do that, probably catch up on that show tomorrow too. So I can't call a time yet, but y'all, we going to do it. So, look out for us, put that notification bell on, and see us tomorrow if you want to hear us talk about the Real Housewives of Potomac and the Tia Mowry show. Okay, my next act. So anyway, guys, listen, it's trending topic Saturday. We got stuff to talk about. I'm here in the building. Okay, yes, Julius put it in chat. It's a semi-express train. Okay, so our topic tonight is Diddy legal team strikes back. So they have received discovery evidence, and they're going through said discovery evidence, and they said the prosecution, and I'm going to pretty much paraphrase it, they're claiming that the prosecution is playing games. They saying that the prosecution told the judge in the court that there was another victim, because right now their whole case is based on one victim, and they have the victim listed as Jane Doe. But Diddy's team is claiming that the victim is Cassie Ventura, and that's the only victim. And so they're saying, that the prosecution claimed they had a second victim, but this second victim, they didn't even interview them yet. This thing is going to be messy. I told you, they're playing games and they're playing around to the point where they're going to mess around, and Diddy going to be like a young thug, doing a plea deal and probably walking free. But I don't see him doing a plea deal, but time will tell. We shall see. So we're going to talk about that. Now we're going to talk about, this is big. This is big. A FEMA official. She allegedly told people that were going out to help, the flood victims, if the people had a Trump sign in their yard, skip that house. Listen, I told y'all over here all the time, I'm not one to say you need to vote for an XYZ person, right? We all got our rights, and you got the freedom to vote for whoever it is you want to vote for. But I do think it is dead wrong if you are working in a capacity where you're supposed to be helping people, and you decide just because somebody got a Trump sign in their yard that you're not going to help them. Well, she messed around and she found out, because guess what now, people? She was fired. And I'm going to tell you this, rightfully so. Now, listen, when I went into nursing, and we have to take our own little nursing oath that pretty much they don't care who comes into your, for you to take care of. It could have been somebody that just unalived 100 people. You can't sit there and now say to yourself, you're not going to help said person because said person unalived 100 people. Your duty is to save said person and do whatever you can to preserve that person's life, because that's the job you signed up for. You can't go work in a jail, a prison, or wherever, and just because you don't like what the person did, when they come in and say, oh, I got pain, you like, oh, I'm not going to give you no Tylenol. Oh, somebody cut me. You can't let them bleed to death. So this FEMA worker was dead wrong for not helping people that had a Trump sign in their yard. So, but now, because she wanted to play games, guess what? She got fired. And like I said, rightfully so. Then the last one we're going to talk about is this toxic female. I don't understand what people don't understand. When someone tells you who they are, I don't know why you don't believe it. For instance, you're in the dating scene, you're in the dating world, and you bump up against somebody. You're a female and you want to date males, and you bump up against a male. And he tells you, I have 5 baby mamas and I have 7 children. And he didn't get along with not near baby mother. He's not taking care of near one of his children. Why on this earth would you think, come on, Special K, run. Why on this earth do you think he's going to get with you, sleep with you, perhaps impregnate you, and now take care of you and yours? Does that make sense to you? The math don't math. And the same for men. If you run into a woman and that's what you want to date, come on, Leslie, red flags. And she's telling you all kinds of craziness, and you still say, you know what? I want to date her. Well, you're going to mess around and find out, because you're going to get what you get. So this lady that we're talking about tonight, she had a history of just being a liar and a vicious liar. She was a sex worker, she's a stripper, sex worker, whatever. I don't know, because they got all different kind of names that they want to call the people now. She was invited to come work at a college lacrosse team's party. She came, worked the party, and then she accused the team members of violating her, because we got to watch our words. She accused them of violating her. These lacrosse work team, college students, they got charged. And then all of a sudden, they said, we'll submit our DNA. They submitted their DNA, and guess what? 0 match. She lied. But the odd thing is, they never charged her with lying. But she destroyed the lacrosse team members that she accused lies. So we pushed the fast forward button. She had another boyfriend. She tried to do something to that boyfriend. Let's push the fast forward button again. She tried to burn down the house with her kids in it, the kids that she gave birth to. Then she meets this guy, and she told him about her past, about the whole lacrosse team, about how she accused them of R. She told him everything. But for some reason, he still decided to go past go. Well, unfortunately, he is no longer here. She stabbed him, and she claimed it was in self-defense. Well, good thing the jury didn't believe her. 14 years she got. Now she crying, trying to backtrack, and saying that the only reason why she got convicted is because of her past. But she said she really was a victim in said situation, and she feels, and so do her kids, like she shouldn't be in jail. Listen, but y'all got to remember, I've been on this earth for a minute. I ain't cut you no slack. You get with me and you want to tell me in your past, you try to burn your house down and your kids was in it. You and other boyfriend, you burnt up his car, did this, that, and the other. You accuse a lacrosse team of violating you. No, I'm blocking your number. I'm deleting all my social media accounts. And I'm good. I ain't got nothing for you. But unfortunately, he continued to move forward. And less than 2 months after meeting her, he lost his life. We're going to talk about it. We got stuff to talk about. It's Saturday night, y'all. I'm glad y'all spending a moment with me. If you're coming in the building, y'all know what to do. Please hit the like button, okay? We got things to talk about. I need a what in the chat. I need a choo-choo. Hold aboard, everybody. It is Saturday Night Trending Topics, and the title is called Messy. So Diddy's legal team strikes back. I'm sorry, y'all got to mute the phone. Diddy's legal team strikes back. We got the FEMA official fired for political bias. She didn't want to help the people because they got a Trump sign in their yard. Is she crazy? And then we got the toxic female. I appreciate y'all for being here. I'm going to bring the people on in the building. Hey, Julius.
Hey, y'all.
Hey.
Hit the like button.
Hey, Diva.
Hey, Wayne.
Hey, Mr. Wayne.
Hit the like button, y'all. Hit the like
Julius.
button. Listen, tonight's the night, y'all. If you ever wanted to come up and test your feet out, the train has some open seats, okay? So come on.
We don't bite. We get a little feisty, but we don't bite.
We get a little feisty, but we don't bite. We might as well start out with our most lightest story. Can you imagine Diddy being one of the lightest stories of the night? We're going to go ahead and start out with this Diddy story. So let me go ahead and share screen. So Diddy's team is already hard at work because they are getting some of the discovery information, and his team of lawyers are looking through it. So Diddy challenges, and when they say Diddy, they mean his lawyer. Diddy challenges Fed's allegations of second sex trafficking victim. So right now, even though we're hearing all of these civil lawsuits, this case that they have against him is from one victim right now. And although they named the victim as Jane Doe, his team is saying that Jane Doe is Cassie Ventura. So Diddy's lawyers say they received a trove of discovery material from the government over the past 6 weeks. And they're going after the federal prosecutor's assertion there's a possible second victim. According to legal documents filed Friday and obtained by TMZ, Diddy's attorneys attacked the government's claim there was a potential second victim of Diddy's alleged sex trafficking operation. As you know, the original indictment pointed specifically to one unnamed victim, who seems to be his ex-girlfriend, Cassie, based on the allegations. The feds charged Diddy with racketeering, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution. In Friday's court filing, Diddy's attorney said the notion of a purported second sex trafficking victim is nonsense, claiming the woman in question is not a victim at all. Diddy's attorneys claim prosecutors haven't even interviewed the woman and say she wasn't a target of any obstructive conduct by Diddy. Now, you know, the other problem they have too is they have that Courtney Burgess who is out here, and now if you're following this case, no one believes Courtney. Everybody is saying that Courtney is a liar. Sorry about that. That Courtney is a liar and that they don't believe a word that is coming out his mouth. And unfortunately, they're going through a lot of that in this Diddy case. Wait, let me just go back a little bit and we'll listen to this really quickly.
Lawyers who are very busy trying to get a gag order in the case now because they are concerned about the grand jury witnesses speaking out about their testimony. And I got to say, I'm pretty sure that they made this emergency motion for the gag order because of an interview we got last week in New York City. We were talking to a guy named Courtney Burgess, saw him in New York City. We knew that he had made allegations in previous interviews that are online where he claimed to have these videos of Diddy and other celebrities. A lot of it is very salacious, or at least hinting at something salacious. So saw him in New York City. We talked to him. He offered up out of nowhere. We didn't know that he'd been there. And he just said, yeah, I just got done talking to the grand jury. And yeah, I told him about my videos. I told him I got this. And then he said that they are going to another meeting where they're going to decide what evidence to turn over. So all of this was out in the public, and he said this to other outlets as well. So Diddy's attorneys are really upset about this.
Yeah, so Diddy's attorneys have asked the court to issue a gag order on all witnesses and counsel. It's a big deal, right? Witnesses to grand juries cannot speak about it. It's part of preserving the grand jury process. And if you don't have confidentiality, if you don't have silence, it can really impact the work the grand jury is doing, and it can impact later trials, the evidence that's submitted at trial later on. And you just don't want this. You want these folks to keep quiet as much
But
as they
there's a
can.
problem with that, which is that if they come down like a hammer on any of these witnesses, it could inhibit future possible witnesses from participating and saying, look, I don't want to be part of this thing because I don't want to get ensnared in something
Right.
where I get in trouble too. So it's a double-edged sword. And they're not parties to this. They're just offering, testimony. So I'm not sure ultimately how the judge is going to come out.
How does this work when they go in? If you're a witness, you go in and testify before a grand jury. Wouldn't the prosecutors remind you?
They ask you not to.
They ask you not to.
Right.
They don't. They can't. They have no right to tell you can't speak. They just ask you not to.
They ask you not to.
Right. Well, it's two things. They'll ask you not to, but if you speak about your own, what you've seen in the past, that's fine. What you can't testify or talk about is what you told the grand jury. So it's a bit of a,
It's the same, but it's the same. It's basically the same thing.
It is the same thing, right? Exactly.
And look, and the other part of this is sort of whack-a-mole, which is that some of the civil lawsuits also now involve these videos. We have a documentary, the third installment of The Downfall of Diddy, which is Inside the Freak Ops. And we get into this with some of the civil lawyers. They have a ton of video. So, you can stop it at the criminal level, but on the civil level,
Right.
there's no gag order. So we will see.
Hi, TMZ. Alba here from London, UK, and I'm just going to jump in on the Diddy story. So yes, obviously his legal team are pushing very hard now for this gag order. I do understand. The thing is, if these allegations cannot be verified, and they're very, very serious allegations, you can understand why they want a gag order. Nobody wants a trial by media. But the thing is, I do agree with what you're saying there. There's a fine line, or a balance, if you will, between his right to a fair trial, but the public's right to know. And nobody wants Diddy having the power to silence people. He's a very powerful man, and nobody wants witnesses being too scared to come forward. Everyone wants to have their voice heard at trial. So I just think it's actually going to be really interesting what the judge does with this.
Yeah. By the way, this our third installment on this Downfall of Diddy drops a week from tomorrow on Tubi. It's free.
All right.
So the lawyer also said Diddy never tried to obstruct the prosecutor's investigation by contacting the alleged second victim, and the feds were fully aware of that. The attorneys say the government misled the court and concealed the true facts during Diddy's first bail hearing after his September 16 arrest in New York City. The latest filing marks Diddy's fourth attempt at making bail after repeatedly being rejected by the court. In the docs, Diddy lawyers also addressed victim one, who seems to be Cassie, the music mogul's ex-girlfriend. The attorneys say Diddy and victim one had an 11-year relationship, but the first allegations by the accuser came 5 years after the couple's 2018 split in November 2023. What's more, the lawyers say the evidence points to a clear case of extortion by victim one, who demanded $30 million from Diddy to purchase the rights to a tell-all book about their relationship. So now they're calling Cassie an extortionist. Because they don't know, because right now victim one in his indictment against him is listed as Jane Doe, but they're saying when you read all of the evidence, victim number one seems to be Cassie Ventura. What are your thoughts on this, Julius?
Can I be frank? And I'm not really giving the rumor mill much life, but I don't see this case making it to trial, especially when we know who takes office in, I'ma say, two and a half months. I don't know. I don't see it going to trial, because I feel like with him just being arrested, he's like a centerpiece and a connection for other stuff that's going on. I don't see his case going to trial. Not like I used to. Not that he didn't do the things that he's being accused of, but we're all innocent until proven guilty. But yeah, something in my spirit is telling me that his case is not gonna make it to trial.
So you trying to say he's gonna plead out?
No, I think he's gonna receive a pardon on day one.
Okay, Wayne, your thoughts?
From the first day we saw the video on that guy with Courtney and his lawyer, I felt from day one when I saw that they would just do much talking. I mean, and to come right out and say they came from a grand jury and they were talking about it. I mean, I don't know that much about the law like that, but I kind of felt like, ain't you doing a little bit too much talking right now? And excuse me. And I think with these people like this that's looking for a name, all this information, so forth and so on, and not really producing any information. And remember when that lawyer, what's her name, Ariel, whatever, and remember she was on some show, and even though she hasn't seen the video, she's validating that she saw stills, very clear stills of who the people were and all that. I mean, how you just come out of a grand jury and now you're on the air, talking about the case? I just thought that was a no-no. But I think if they don't hurry up and come up with something on Diddy, we got this, they're gonna have to let the next bill out. Because he's paying some good. He got some good lawyers, seems like, and he's paying the bucks. He's paying the money. So I think I almost feel like Felicia said yesterday, he'd be home for Thanksgiving.
He might be eating turkey with the family and baby love. I mean, time will tell. His lawyers definitely are worth their salt because they're working. Yes, Special K. He goes back on December the 18th. I am going to try to work my way to the city. I'm probably going to most likely be outside of the courtroom, but hey, I'm gonna be outside of the courtroom seeing what I'm got to see. But it's getting kind of chilly now out here in New York, so I'm definitely gonna have to dress warm, have some leg warmers, or I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna go out there. But yes, the next date is supposed to be December the 18th, and that again is if he does not get out on bail. But I'm wondering if he does get out on bail before that, will he still have to appear in court in person? And will he just keep kind of fly back and forth when he has to appear in person, or will he get a place in New York and kind of just stay in New York up until his trial next year? I don't know. So we shall see. But we will go more into that. I will stay connected with this particular story. So let's go ahead and get right into the next story. And the next story is this FEMA official. I don't know what her thought process was. I don't know why she would do this, but I mean, I'm sure she's thinking about it now because she has been fired. So let's go ahead and get into this story. Let me just share a screen. So FEMA official who allegedly told workers to avoid Florida homes with Trump signs has been fired. And I really feel rightfully so. This is not her decision just because you want to vote for somebody that you can decide not to give me help when I need help. That is super messy. Let's just take a listen.
Your reaction when you heard this news about FEMA and avoiding what appears to be some 20 homes in Florida?
Well, to say that I was surprised would be a lie. I don't necessarily want to demean or demonize every FEMA employee or worker that's out there. I think there are a lot of them that have a good heart that want to help people. the question that it leads me to is to ask the question of what sort of culture has been established in order for, FEMA personnel on the ground, or leadership for that matter, to provide this sort of instruction to FEMA personnel that want to provide help. And more so, I had an interaction with local FEMA officials as well, and they wanted to help people. And what was the interesting thing is it was stated that, hey, we can't have our fingerprints on this, which I think it leads back to the actual question, which is, what sort of culture and what sort of fear is there in place at some of the lower levels of FEMA personnel, where they're afraid they're going to lose their job if they don't speak up against actions that are blatantly not aligned with what the organization is supposed to be doing?
So the Federal Emergency Management Agency supervisor accused of ordering her subordinates to skip Florida homes with Trump campaign signs has been fired. Marnie Washington was sacked for telling disaster relief workers in Lake Placid, Florida, to not go to homes with yard signs supporting President-elect Trump. FEMA Administrator Diane Criswell said Saturday, "This is a clear violation of FEMA's core values and principles to help people regardless of their political affiliation," she said, adding, "This employee has been terminated and we have referred the matter to the Office of Special Counsel." This is the supervisor that instructed employees not to help out the homes that was supporting, Trump's, or had signs in their yard supporting Trump. "I will continue to do everything I can to make sure this never happens again." This disturbing directive was allegedly made in late October as Washington 39 worked with a FEMA team in the Central Florida town in the wake of Hurricane Milton. "Avoid homes advertising Trump," she wrote in a best practices memo to employees, a copy which was obtained by the Daily Wire. The instruction also advised them to stay hydrated and to follow the rules. She also gave the direction verbally, according to the report. Washington's sister, April Brown, 39, claimed she was stunned to hear about her siblings' brazen actions. "I'm completely shocked," she said. "I can tell you that she set out to help and serve all people. With her being in that position with FEMA, I can't see her doing anything like that." Washington, who according to a now deleted LinkedIn, has been employed by FEMA since 2019, also works as a regional manager in the Bay Area for the property management firm Aventa Capital Management, LLC, and lists herself as an owner of the logistics company Alum Industries, LLC. The former FEMA employee, who her sister said grew up in Oakland, has a strong fixation with the history of slavery. She posted on her Facebook page in 2019 about supposedly the first slave ship to travel to the Americas in the 1500s, as well as an article about how California tried to ban free Black individuals in the mid-1800s. "I'm steadfast and extremely unpredictable," she wrote on her social media page, adding a kiss emoji. It's unclear why Washington ordered her staff to play politics with their relief efforts, but local officials tore into the former Fed, discriminating against residents in times of need. "We're all Americans." Dustin Woods, 39, a pastor and a member of the town's local planning agency board, told the Post. So this is exactly what she wrote here. "Implement best practices. Not one goes anywhere alone. Avoid homes advertising Trump. Practice de-escalation and preventative measures. Communicate and follow the rules. Bring a towel with you tomorrow in the field. Frequent breaks and drink water. Avoid high salt diets and coffee. Coconut water is a fast way to replenish your electrolytes quickly. There are no parties when we are recovering," Lake Placid Mayor John Holbrook said, "Hearing about her discrimination really sickens me. When it comes to politics and religion, everybody should just keep that separate from their jobs," he added. And I totally agree. Workers told the Daily Wire they ultimately skipped about 20 homes displaying Trump signs or flags between late October and early November due to Washington's edit. Denying those residents the chance to sign up for federal relief aid in the wake of the howling Category 3 storm that caused an estimated $50 billion in damages across the state. Trump signed no entry poor leadership, one worker wrote in FEMA's tracking system when explaining and skipped home, according to a screenshot obtained by the outlet. Lake Placid was less severely impacted by the destructive storm compared to communities on the state's west coast, with officials suggesting the damage largely amounted to tornadoes hitting a handful of neighborhoods and a trailer home park. Many residents have taken it upon themselves to clean up the destruction and debris with assistance from Highlands County, Holbrook said, adding that he hadn't noticed a ton of FEMA activity in the area. We're picking up most of the debris ourselves, he said. Washington issued her memo after Trump, Vice President-elect J.D. Vance, and several local residents affected by Hurricane Helene began lashing out at the Biden-Harris administration over the federal government's sluggish disaster response. Republican Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said then that the former FEMA employees directive was a clear display of Biden-Harris administration weaponization of government. At my direction, the Division of Emergency Management is launching an investigation into the federal government's targeted discrimination of Floridians who support Donald Trump, he added. Washington did not respond to our request for a comment. You know, I have to say it's disgraceful. Disgraceful. Julius, what are your thoughts?
I'm going to be consistent. I criticized the Trump-Pence administration when it came to Puerto Rico. I tore them to shreds. So Biden-Harris, why was this person still on the payroll? I'ma be consistent. Why was this person on the payroll? Those people went through a natural, tragic disaster, whatever the word is that I'm trying to say. Just like I called the ones out when everything happened with Puerto Rico with Hurricane Maria. I'm doing the same thing now. Wrong is wrong. I don't give a willy coochie what political party you belong to. You do not play politics with relief funds. I said that in 2017, and I'm saying it now. Quit with the political stupid games. Help the people. I don't care where they live. Help the ones in Puerto Rico. Help the ones in Florida. Help the ones in Texas. Help the ones in Central Tennessee, Western North Carolina. Help them all. Because when a storm happens, when that tornado touches down, or when that hurricane touches sea, or when that nor'easter starts to form, you're neither Democrat nor Republican. You are human.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Julius. Wayne, you're up.
You know, I wish she would have made a statement and as to state why she did that. You know, told him that, because I wonder that was around the time when the FEMA workers were getting attacked. You know, and I'm just wondering, maybe her mindset was they didn't want any confrontation or they were scared. You know, I don't know if that happened around that time or before or after, but, you know, they were being attacked. You know, I'm not trying to make an excuse because they know it shouldn't happen, you know, because when the other side does something, you hear about it, but then you don't hear about it anymore. Mm-hmm. Burning ballot boxes, that was a big thing. You don't hear nobody saying they arrested anybody for that. I mean, they were out there assaulting people who were going to vote. This 70-year-old woman and a 50-something-year-old woman, the guy was about to attack them, I think, with a knife or something, or he was acting like he was coming at them. So when you out there on your feet and you going, going door to door, you could have some possible concerns. So I'm not saying that, I don't know her mindset, if it was because, we don't like Trump, so we don't like them or whatever, or just erring on the side of caution. I don't know. That's just my thought,
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Thank you. Dustin, any thoughts?
My thoughts of this, Dave. I hope we can. I hope that we. This election has opened my eyes, David, and I think that we're going to be in a root of a lot of trouble as he takes presidency in January 20th. I think we're going to have. I think we're going to have to stay prayed up, David, because I see a lot of changes that I don't agree with coming up in 2025 and beyond. I think that we would have been in a better situation if we had BP Harris as our next president. And it's just my opinions on this. It's just my opinions, David. Nobody else on this panel, but I think we will be. We have to stay prayed up, and I will stay prayed up, and my best friend will be right by my side.
All right, thank you, Dustin. Okay,
Thank
so
you.
I will say that I get some people saying they need to hear from her. Listen, she wrote what she wrote. It is.
Can I just say,
Hold on, Dustin, please.
Sorry.
She wrote what she wrote. I think it was messy, and I think in leadership, you do have to separate the houses. You cannot find yourself in a position where you're supposed to help people, and then you're skipping people houses because they got a sign in their yard. Listen, it was a whole hurricane. What happens if maybe that sign was in somebody else's yard and then it ended up in mine? How do you know? How do you know? Maybe, because my husband rules the house. Maybe he got the sign in the yard and I don't really agree with it. But to keep peace in my home, I'm like, whatever. The sign could be in the yard. That shouldn't impact the help that I'm going to get as a citizen living here. It would be no different than someone writing a memo saying, don't help the Black people. It's messy, it's wrong, and it was not right. I don't need no justification from her. I just think it as a whole, it was just wrong all the way around. No matter how you look at it. Dustin, what was you trying to say?
I said we have heard from her. She had a speech, David. The next day we have heard from her, and I think that it's safe to say that she is heartbroken, just like everybody else.
Dustin, you're on the wrong story though. Not to cut you off, but we're talking about a woman.
Sorry, David.
Yeah, a woman who denied FEMA help to people who had a Trump sign in their yard.
I do apologize about that.
Yeah,
Sorry, Diva.
yes, okay. So yeah.
Diva.
Yes, go ahead, Wayne.
Oh, I just wanted to say, I just wanted to know, I don't need justification, but I just like to hear her thought pattern as to why she would put that down there. You know what I mean? I mean, she wrote it out. So I was just like, no, why? I mean, just curious, not that it was right, but it's just, why would you do that? It makes everybody on that side look bad because that one thing it's gonna blow up. So why would you even put yourself in a position like that to know how it's going to turn out? So I was just like, what were you thinking? What was your why did you think you could do this and it would go unnoticed? Especially when you write it down, So how does it go unnoticed? You can't even say, well, no, that's not what I said. Yeah.
Yeah, there may be more to the story, but I think if there was more, she would be. If she was not, it to me in my mind, if she was not wrong, she would have been speaking out loud and clear, especially because of the fact that she got fired. And that's just my opinion. I'm not going to let you fire me, and I didn't do anything wrong. Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Julius.
So I just want to say, this just occurred to me. This also will contribute to the chain of misinformation that's out there. Because due to personal bias, she was immediately fired. That's a big indication that this story is accurate. So, and I know it's going to contribute to it, but all I'm saying is this was a natural disaster. Politics be put aside, help should have been given.
I agree with you, Julius. Help should have been given. And so they skipped about 20 houses. And regardless of who these people was going to voted for, whatever the case may be, they paid taxes in that town. They was in that community. So they contributed to their community. So let me go ahead and let's roll into our next and our last story. This particular young lady, what I'm hoping is for people is that when people tell us who they are, we believe them the first time and we run and we don't look back. You know, there were a lot of this, to go back to this Diddy story for 1 second. A lot of these cases you heard, well, he did this, he did that, he did that, he did this, he did this, and they kept going back. And it's like, okay, if he violated you the first time, why did you keep going back? Did you think it was going to change? Did you think he was going to get any better? This particular gentleman that unfortunately is no longer alive, the girl told him exactly what she did in the past, and he was like, okay, cool. Now listen, everybody got a past. Some things are forgivable, and some things to me are not. So let's go ahead and get into her story. So complex crime. Inside a twisted tale of an exotic dancer who accused 3 innocent men of gang harming her before unaliving her boyfriend with a steak knife. She claims she stabbed her boyfriend in self-defense, but after being found to have lied 3 years earlier, very few believe Crystal's version of events. Let's just check out this clip really quickly, and then we'll go more into the story.
Preceding her, Crystal faces an uphill legal battle as some question her credibility.
You have to ask yourself, can that person get a fair and impartial jury of their peers?
Now, more than a decade into her prison sentence, Crystal Mangum shares her side of the story.
He was the aggressor, and I was no match for him. They just arrested me. They didn't ask me what happened or anything.
I believe the police treated my mom not as the victim that she was because of what happened with Duke.
As she fights for vindication, others question her inability to take responsibility for her actions.
So when exotic dancer Crystal falsely accused 3 young students of brutally gang harming her in a bathroom at a house party, she hit the headlines globally and quickly rose to notoriety. It was a horrifying story that shocked the world and attracted a huge amount of media attention, eventually leaving Crystal within her local community, her reputation in shreds, because they found out, I want to say they was Duke University lacrosse students, and they found out that she lied, okay? So when the mom of 3 started dating decorator Reginald Day, a few years later, she must have breathed a huge sigh of relief, as she finally found someone who didn't judge her on her checkered past. Sadly, whether Reginald could trust her back was another matter entirely, and giving her a second chance would prove to be Reginald's downfall, as just months later, he was dead. The 46-year-old was brutally murdered after an outcast Crystal plunged a steak knife deep into his side in what she claimed was self-defense. Now, a decade into her sentence for the murder, Crystal has shared her shocking side of the story. But rather than show any remorse, incredibly, she still refuses to accept any responsibility for the events that led to her incarceration. A single mother doing what she can do. Before all of this, an ambitious Crystal had landed several jobs at tech companies before going on to join the Navy, where she met a fellow sailor in 1999 and had 2 kids, son RJ and daughter Ariana. When they separated, Crystal moved back home and went on to have another baby daughter, Kayla. Speaking on a new documentary series of Hayu's Snap Behind Bars, RJ says she was a single mother just doing what she could to provide for us. That was her son saying that. She was still going to college and she ended up getting her bachelor's degree in psychology. I was really proud of her. We hit it off. Meanwhile, Reginald was born in 1964 and grew up in a small town. His nephew Carlos Wilson recalls he was a country boy. He liked the outdoors. He liked to fish. In 2011, he met Crystal, then 32, through her aunt. Crystal says he was very quiet and to me very attractive. We hit it off. RJ says my mother came and told me she had a place for us to stay, and then she introduced me to Reginald. So this is Crystal's history, her timeline, okay? In March 2006, Crystal makes headlines and gains notoriety after accusing 3 college students of gang on her during a party. However, DNA evidence failed to match any of the players on the team, and she eventually recants her statement. February 2010, Crystal is convicted on misdemeanor charges for setting fire that nearly razed her home with her 3 children inside. April 3rd, 2011, Crystal and boyfriend of a month, Reginald Day, become caught up in a heated argument, and Crystal fatally stabs him with a steak knife, in which she claims to be self-defense. April 13, 2011, Reginald dies 10 days later due to complications from his injuries. November 2013, Crystal is sentenced to a maximum of 14 years in prison for second-degree murder. Everybody who knows Crystal, they quickly became an item. However, there was one thing Crystal had to address right away: her notorious past. In 2006, she had become one of the county's most hated public figures. To make ends meet, Crystal worked as an exotic dancer, and in March that year, she attended a party for work. She'd been hired by a group of Duke lacrosse students to perform at a house party. I don't know if you remember this story. And she reported afterwards that she had been sexually assaulted. Police showed her a picture of the team, and she identified 3 people from that picture. It was a case that split America right down the middle and dominated national news. But her story quickly started to unravel. Reporter Amanda says the DNA test came back and showed none of the players that she had accused had any DNA connection to her allegations of SA. The Attorney General decides that not only was this a case of a false accusation, but these men were totally innocent. The case didn't go to trial. She wasn't charged with making false accusations, and Crystal stood by her claims. However, her character was called into question, and she was left unable to get a job or rent a home, even ended up in a homeless shelter at one point. Thankfully, Reginald took her past well. Crystal says, I said there was one thing I need to tell you, that we need to get out in the open. I felt like I've been blacklisted. He said, well, I understand and I appreciate your honesty. That's Reginald. That is the man that lost his life. He was bleeding profusely. Just 2 months later, however, on August 2nd, 2011, tragedy struck. After introducing Crystal to his family, Reginald, intoxicated from a day drinking, became enraged after Crystal chatted to a police officer she knew outside their home. A violent fight ensued, and at 2:30 a.m. in the early hours of the next day, Carlos called police in a panic after his uncle showed up at his door having been stabbed. In a previous documentary, Collins recalled, I held Reginald's wound, talked to him, tried to get him to calm down. He was bleeding profusely. Crystal had fled this crime scene. Says she, I was still in fight or flight mode after I stabbed him. I didn't even have the strength to call the police. It took all the strength in me just to run. All I could think about was getting to my kids. That's all I could think about. Her son was asleep on the couch downstairs at his grandmother's house when his mom arrived, and he made a call to the police. He says she kept telling me he was beating her and that she did it in self-defense. I was definitely scared for her. I never seen her frantic like that, just crying on the floor, hysterical. This is the crime scene, a trail of knives. Reginald was rushed to the hospital, and the moment officers inspected the scene, it was clear a violent struggle had occurred. Durham Police Crime Scene Specialist Al Brown says, initially, I see this knife stabbed in the armrest of the couch. And as I proceed through the kitchen, I see knives that are out of the knife block scattered across the kitchen floor. You kind of see a trail of these that led to the bathroom. And then we also found a blade in the bedroom as well. There was also a door to the bathroom that had fist holes punched in it. Reginald's stab wound was 7.5 inches deep, and the result of a steak knife being plunged into his side, hitting his colon, his spleen, and kidney. Recounting his version of events, Crystal says, Reginald started yelling at me and he hit me. I locked myself in the bathroom to get away from him. What more could I do? It was not in his right mind. Now, 5, I don't want to see that. So wait. Physically distraught, Crystal insisted she had lashed out in self-defense, but she believes she was not taken seriously because of her past. Durham Police Crime Scene Specialist Al Brown says, I observed her physically distraught. She was upset and she appeared like she had been in an assault. Her hair was just a mess. She had a swollen face. She had wounds on her hands and her arms that was consistent with being defensive wounds. He also interviewed Reginald in the hospital, who supported much of Crystal's claims. He stated Ms. Mangum had fled into the bathroom and locked the door behind her, and that he pursued her by forcing the door in. To get to her, Reggie said he kicked the door in. His statement in the contents of the scene determined a conclusion of self-defense. However, Reginald then stated he let her go, and Crystal went into the kitchen to get a knife before stabbing him, while Crystal insisted it was Reginald who went to get the knives. She says, I was 140 pounds and 5 feet 4 inches. He's 188 pounds, 5 feet 9, and I was no match for him, so I stabbed him to get him off of me. I'm grateful to be alive. Initially, Mr. Day was expected to make a full recovery, but on April 6th, he had a heart attack, fell into a coma, and died 10 days later. The police then charged Crystal with second-degree murder. At her trial in November 2013, the jury was quick to reach a guilty verdict, and Crystal was sentenced to a minimum of 14 years in prison. The trial heard Crystal had also previously trashed another boyfriend's car, set fire to his clothes, and almost burned down her home with her children inside. Crystal still maintains it was a miscarriage of justice, saying, when they read the verdict of guilty, I thought, Lord help me. I just didn't have any more faith in the judicial system at that point. I just thought I was all alone. Her son RJ adds, I believe the police treated my mom not as the victim that she was, but because of what happened with Duke. Crystal has continued to unsuccessfully appeal, suggesting the stab wound was not the cause of the death, but a misplaced medical tool, a claim backed by one expert. However, in April 2023, the medical examiner produced a report stating that the stabbing was the official cause of death. Either way, reporter Amanda concludes, at the end of the day, he wouldn't have been in the hospital if he hadn't been stabbed, and there's no doubt that the injuries were part of the reason that he was in such critical medical situation. She's a hot mess. Why did he stay with her? Why did he believe her? I don't know, but unfortunately, it did cost him his life. I do want to just take it back and remind you of the men that, she accused. And actually, she had to end up she took it back, but it still impacted their lives. So let's just take a listen really quickly.
More than 6 months ago, Duke University and the city of Durham, North Carolina, were rocked by charges that Duke lacrosse players raped an exotic dancer at a teen party. 60 Minutes correspondent Ed Bradley got exclusive interviews with the 3 players charged in the case, including former co-captain Dave Evans.
Do you ever think that if this does go to trial, that if you're convicted, you could face a lot of time in prison? Do you ever think about that?
Would you?
Sure.
Yeah. 30 years I could go to jail for something that never happens based on a lie.
Ed Bradley's here with us this morning. Good morning, Ed.
Good morning, Hannah.
You spoke to all 3 of these young men. Are they scared? They've all said they're innocent.
I think that they do have some fear. As Dave says, he's looking at 30 years in prison for something he says he didn't do. Based on the evidence, they feel they shouldn't be in this position. So they feel confident that they're innocent. But having said that, they are in this position indicted based on evidence that they don't think should have put them there.
A couple of key points to be made, and one of them is the lineup that the accuser looked at to pick out players who had allegedly raped her. What were the problems with that lineup?
Well, the lineup violated the Durham police rules, state rules, Justice Department rules. We've all seen these TV shows where the suspect comes in and there are 4 or 5 people who have nothing to do with the crime. It's the same thing in a photo lineup. They're called fillers, those extra people. You had pictures of people who were there and pictures of people who had nothing to do with it. The accuser was shown pictures of everyone who's at the party, all of the lacrosse players. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. She could pick anyone, and she would pick someone who was there.
You've also spoken with the other dancer who was there that night, along with the accuser, a young lady named Kim Roberts. Let's take a look at that.
In the police statement, she describes the rape in this way. 3 guys grabbed Nikki, that's you. Brett, Adam, and Matt grabbed me. They separated us at the master bedroom door while we tried to hold on to each other. Brett, Adam, and Matt took me into the bathroom. Were you holding on to each other? Were you pulled apart? Is that true?
No.
Did she give you any reason to believe that she had been assaulted, abused in any way?
Mm-mm.
None whatsoever.
Mm-mm.
Did she at any point that night say anything about being in pain or having been hurt in any way?
Mm-mm. She obviously wasn't hurt, or because, she was fine.
So she disputes the accuser's story.
Well, she disputes the accuser's story as it was given in the accuser's police statement.
Mm-hmm.
She refuted every point.
How many different versions have we heard of what happened that night?
The accuser has had several different accounts. First it was 3, then it was 5. She changed the number of people, the description of the people. She couldn't recognize some of the people from the photo lineups. When she finally picked out one person, she said, oh yeah, that was him, but he had a mustache. He'd never had a mustache.
What's been established in terms of DNA evidence in this case?
Bottom line is there was none. I mean, the players voluntarily offered to give their DNA. The district attorney said this will rule out all of the innocent people. It turned out that there was no DNA from any player on or inside her or in that bathroom, with the exception of perhaps Dave Evans, because it was his bathroom. So she said she lost fingernails in a struggle during this rape. Well, there were 2 fingernails found in the trash can. There was DNA evidence that could have belonged to Dave Evans, but his argument is it was my bathroom, my trash can, my toilet tissue, my dental floss, all of these things that you throw in the trash can. Surely my DNA is going to be in the trash can.
Your report and others just continue to raise questions about what real hard evidence there is in this case. What sort of doubts are there about the district attorney, Mike Nifong, who was so confident in prosecuting this case? He said there was no doubt in his mind that this young woman had been raped.
I think the biggest difficulty with the prosecutor, DA Mike Nifong, is that he said they were guilty before he examined the evidence. He said they were guilty before any police reports were written. He said they were guilty before they questioned all of the witnesses in the case. He called them guilty.
Think it'll go to trial?
I think he's determined to take it to trial, but if people there look at the evidence, they say, how can he go to trial based on this kind of evidence?
And for now, the trial is set for this spring, and we look forward to seeing the rest of your report. Ed, thanks for being here with us this morning. We
Thank you,
appreciate it. Of course, you can see Ed's.
So that's why she's trying to say now that she was convicted. She's saying that she wasn't convicted on the case itself. She was convicted as a result of her past, but her past is very shady. She tried to burn up her own house with her kids in it. She burned up her previous car, her boyfriend's car, and clothes. She accused these boys of essaying her, and they did not. Julius, what is your thoughts on this story?
So I have to say, I hope those boys who are now men receive therapy. And I do have to give the reporter props for saying, now wait a minute, something is amiss here.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to say, this woman has a history of criminal behavior and not valuing her children. And you want us to feel sympathy for you. Sweetie, honestly, you are where you are because of you. Because of you. You are weeping what you have sown throughout your life. Choices that you made. You chose to produce false accusations. False accusations. You chose to do that. You chose to burn down the cars, and you chose to almost unalive your babies. Let's call it what it is. She almost unalived her babies.
Mm-hmm.
She is vile. She is where she's at because of the choices she made. She's not a mental case. She's had time and time again at a second chance. And the one chance she had, she chose to ruin it. Do I believe it was a fight at first? Mm-hmm. But when that fight was over with, done and over with, that could have been your opportunity to leave. But no, you chose to elevate it more. She's where she's at because of the choices she has made. Like we say, men need to man up. She needs to woman up and own it.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate you, Julius. Wayne, your thoughts?
You know, she got 14 years for, you know, being responsible for somebody's demise. I mean, some people get more than that for attempted or other crimes, and she only gets 14 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It sounds like she just sought out vulnerable people, you know, young boys, you know, the kids, somebody can't fight for themselves, allowing the boys, the boyfriend, you know. And I don't think because of her past, they convicted her. I'm sure that could have possibly helped, but I think they had enough evidence to show that she did it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't think they said, "Oh, well, you did this," you know, and I think you got anger issues, so I think you could have done it. No, I think they had probably forensic evidence that found her guilty.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the man was drinking. Okay, and you see how I would say she might be one of these women to go for bad. You know, the man was drinking, you know, and she says that I'm 118 pounds, he's this, he's that, whatever. Well, when somebody's impaired like that, I mean, and you're not, I think you have more, I won't say physical power, but you sure have enough mental power either to be able to make a decision that, look, I don't need to be here right now. Let me let him cool off. Let me remove myself from the situation. You know, but it didn't go down like that. But I think there was evidence that she did it. And she's where she needs to be. Because she doesn't mind. I mean, if her child had passed away in that, obviously she wouldn't mind. Who leaves their child like that? These college boys, she didn't care about about their future, their life. I mean, even if they went to jail for a year and then DNA exonerates them, that's a year of their life. I mean, you know, and the things they were exposed to. So I think, you know, she probably had a fair trial. And now just trying to say, woe is me, you know, his son says my mom. Well, of course he's gonna say it's his mom. You know, just like Diddy's kids are saying about this dad, you know, so. But of course, you know, you don't expect them to say anything different, you know. So that's my thoughts. I think she's, you know, she's there. She's lucky she only got 14 years.
Yeah, she is lucky. Roberta, I saw that story. You're right. Justice is not always what it seems like. But those boys, I mean, I think their life was ruined in some way, shape, or form anyway because of her lies. And the fact that to me, she should have gotten some type of trouble for lying on them. I mean, the DNA came back and say nothing. And then the dancer that was with her was like, that I don't know what she's talking about, but it didn't happen like that. And then she ended up recanting her own story. It's just the same. I think something is mentally wrong with her. Now, you know, I don't throw that around too easily. But you tried to burn up the house with the kids in it. You burnt up the other boyfriend car. You stabbed the one boyfriend and he doesn't make it. And you lied on those boys. Messy, like I said, the title of tonight's, you know, live. Listen, guys, that's it in that song. Was a nice mini ride tonight. I appreciate y'all for coming through. Don't forget, if you didn't hit the like button on the way in, hit the like button on the way out. You can continue the conversation in the chat if you have anything to add to any one of these stories. But I will say this Diddy thing is going to be something to watch, okay? And I'm going to stay connected. The FEMA official, I truly feel she got what she deserved. She deserved to be fired. And girlfriend, she needs to be in jail. She's where she belongs. And like you said, Wayne, she is extremely lucky that she only got 14 years, okay? Because she stabbed that man, and I don't know about it being self-defense. Anyway, guys, good night and goodbye. I'll see y'all next time.